coming up with ways to curb human trafficking. And that was the goal of lawmakers who met in South Texas Thursday. And while they were down here near the border, they got an update on the state's efforts to secure it.
LeAnn, what role will these extra troops play?
Well, Ed, it's mostly going to be about visibility. These troops won't be helping out the kids who have been crossing the border alone. Instead, they'll have their eyes on the criminals who have been taking advantage of this humanitarian crisis. We are expecting Governor Rick Perry to be here shortly to be booked. The stage is definitely set. I mean, we've got media crews from all over the state set up both outside and inside where the governor is expected to be processed. Now, part of that processing will likely include a mugshot and being fingerprinted. We did get a copy of the governor's summons today. It outlines the 2 counts against him. Count 1 being abuse of official capacity and count 2 being coercion of a public servant. With Republican Greg Abbott and Democrat Wendy Davis really dominating the gubernatorial conversation, it's sometimes hard to remember the other folks vying for the state's top spot.
LeAnn, you were able to speak with him earlier today. How's he feeling going into tonight?
Paul, other than being a little sleep deprived, Dewar said that he's doing just fine. And while he does perhaps need a little sleep, what he really needs tonight are the votes.
LeAnn, I imagine it's a pretty different mood over there.
Yeah, no doubt, Paul. I mean, these really aren't the early numbers that Dewar supporters here really wanted to see at this point tonight. But I can also tell you that it doesn't seem like too many people are surprised by these early results. I mean, if you just look back at the primary election results, just how many more people voted for Patrick. President Obama showed some love for Austin, and the crowd sure showed some love back. And while picking up some barbecue might be a perk of his visit, his main focus was the economy. And you just kind of addressed some of your supporters here, and you talked about your grassroots effort. I mean, your living room literally transformed into campaign headquarters. So now you get to rearrange some furniture, right? City crews are still out across the city of Austin blocking low water crossings. As you can see here, plenty of signage reminding drivers just don't even try it, right? I mean, turn around, don't drown.
It's reassuring to see how Texans, and particularly people in this small community of West Texas, are coming together, helping one another. We're here to help in any way we can as well.
All right, Senator, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, like you just heard Senator John Cornyn say, the community is really coming together. And on the federal level, when it comes down to that, we are still waiting on perhaps a declaration from the president declaring this an emergency situation. Until then, it's a lot of neighbors helping neighbors as this small town continues to mourn and just kind of grasp what happened. The families are dropped off here at this bus stop after being detained by immigration and given court dates. They're often tired, hungry, and sometimes sick. That's where volunteer groups just 2 blocks down the street step in to help out.
I'm always ready and open to respond to the need of our community. That's what Catholic Charities does.
Sister Norma Pimentel didn't just answer the call, she made it.
And I said, Father Tom, I need to borrow your parish hall for a couple of days.
If you're doing sorting or something, we're going to need you.
A couple of days turned into weeks as the surge of undocumented immigrants continues along the border.
That day, we received 200 folks.
Thank you for your blessing, too. She always gives you, I love her blessing.
And they haven't stopped coming.
You traveled, so far. And
2,000 miles.
2,000 miles to be here.
Some of them have been traveling 10, 15, 20, some up to a month to try and taking great risks to come here.
What size are they? Are the little ones? You can put them on the table with the little girl table.
It's just a pit stop on their journey.
They're not asking for anything except basic human needs. They just want their human basic needs met. They want something to wear, something to eat and drink, and to get clean.
You can almost hear the sigh when they walk in that they're finally in a safe place and rest for a few minutes before they continue.
They'll continue on by bus to stay with relatives across the country. And while their future is uncertain,
thank you.
These volunteers will be here to help.
Never imagined the magnitude of this humanitarian crisis, and so, but we're here to continue as long as we can. They have been here since day one, and they have not stopped.
Sister Norma recently met with lawmakers in Washington. She hopes whatever solution they come up with to solve this humanitarian crisis, they act with compassion. In McAllen, LeAnn Wallace, Time Warner Cable News. Of course, there's a lot of conspiracy theories and questions about the assassination, but for the most part, people that I spoke with just really want to put those questions and theories aside, at least for today and tomorrow, and just remember our late president.
50 years later, you can still sense the darkness of what happened here in Dealey Plaza.
It's very eerie, I think, and I don't know what to make of it, really.
And even half a century later,
this is the sharpest, the clearest version you'll ever see.
Many still don't know what to make of it.
Away.
You know, the Secret Service, they were embarrassed by the whole thing. They lost the president, and that's their job to take care of him. And they felt bad, and I can understand that. The FBI felt bad. They all felt bad. We all felt bad.
And some felt compelled to just be here.
I'm fulfilling a 50-year dream of mine. I've always wanted to come and just witness the scene. I always wanted to come and see the view from the 6th floor.
People have their theories.
This is a wanted poster for the murder of John Kennedy, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
And 3 full-size books to read.
But on this day...
We've had 50 years to talk conspiracy. These are just a couple days of remembrance of the assassination, regardless of what people believe and how it was done.
Many hope they can be set aside to remember the late president.
We shouldn't criticize, even though we think there's a conspiracy theory out there, and I believe there's one, but I'm here to enjoy the moment.
Remembering the moment that changed the course of history.
As promised, the Texas legislature is back at the Capitol today, but so are we.
A sea of orange filled the south lawn of the state capitol Monday, a call to once again block stricter abortion regulations from becoming law.
If this was a law legislating what men could do with their penises, they would lose their minds. So I don't see why we're any different.
Even though I'm not a woman, I'd like to at least say I'm pro-choice, and I think a woman should have the right to do what they want with their body.
This movement comes not even 1 week after Senator Wendy Davis, with a little help, successfully filibustered an anti-abortion bill in the Texas Senate.
It was your voices lent to me that made it possible for me to stand those 13 hours.
Those who oppose the legislation were a lot more vocal than those who support the bill. Anti-abortion groups also turned out to the Capitol.
A much calmer group gathered to show their support for the bill inside the Capitol.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. You have to be real about it. Abortion hurts women, inside and out.
But what is etched into memory forever are the words of the abortionist when he said, "Good news, you no longer have a baby."
Women took turns giving personal accounts of how they say abortion has negatively affected their lives. They stood with lawmakers like Senator Donna Campbell, who has been very vocal in her support of the bill.
In this state, in this nation, we're facing an unparalleled external push toward not only what is morally wrong, but what is morbidly wrong with what they do to our babies.
An emotional debate back front and center before both chambers. At the state capitol, LeAnn Wallace, YNN.